I promised I would talk about Belize and my time living there and the pros and cons. So let's go. If you're thinking about whether Belize is a good choice for you, you'll want to listen to this episode. It can be an excellent choice, but I'm going to share the pros and cons from my experience spending multiple months over winters there during several years. The pros of Belize, number one, it's super diverse. I love the fact that there were so many different cultures, languages. For example, in the northern Keys, the offshore islands of San Pedro, Caye Caulker, there's a very strong, Mexican influence. And so it's like, the Spanish is spoken. A lot of the foods are Mexican as well. But there's also a Creole side to Belize. It's English speaking, but it's also Caribbean because it's on the Caribbean coast. And so you have this Afro-Belizean mix that is very unique, and makes it a great place to just feel comfortable and welcomed. Then you have also the Garifuna people in the south who are Afro-Amerindian and have a very unique culture and history. You have the Maya, of course, who are the original inhabitants of Belize. And that culture is still ongoing. The Maya very much there, very much present today in multiple parts of the country, including the interior. So it's like super diverse. It's just fabulous for a little country. Two, that translates into really good food. I'm sorry, but like Belizean food is the bomb. From everything from like the Caribbean side, which is like, rice and beans and plantains, to all the Mexican style dishes that we all love, and some very uniquely Belizean twists to all of these dishes as well that you'll learn about. The Garifuna have their own dishes like hudut, dipped in a coconut sauce with fish and mashed plantains that you eat with your hands. Anyway, it's really amazing, and you'll never run out of things to eat, and it can be pretty cheap when you eat local. The other major plus of Belize and what it's become known for even as a tourist destination is the nature and the outdoors. They're very much big on conservation, and you'll find a lot of conservation groups there, which means there are lots of protected areas that you can go and snorkel. The second longest reef in the world, and actually the healthiest reef in the world, the Belize Barrier Reef, part of the Mesoamerican Reef, all along the coast there on the Caribbean, stretching into Mexico. But the Belizean part is the longest and the healthiest, and it is just thriving with marine life. So if you're into diving, snorkeling, you're going to have such an amazing time. I got dive certified in Belize. So you got lots of options. You got hiking in forests, real rainforests, with like wildlife. Belize has like, I think 4 or 5 wildcats. Can't remember right now, but yeah. Anyway, it's a fantastic place for nature, especially if you have family and kids. Now, for myself, I spent a lot of time in Belize. In fact, I have this book as well, similar to the Dominican Republic, but I have one on Belize, and it's great for background still. And so that meant that I spent quite a bit of time slowly traveling through the country, and I would spend my winters, once I was done with the research part, I would go back to Caye Caulker, Belize, which is an island off of the north coast of Belize. One of the most popular tourist destinations as well. It wasn't back in the day, but now it is. And I would spend my few months there as a base. I love Caye Caulker. It's a super wonderful, cute island, access to sea, access to activities, only like, an under an hour water ferry ride to the main city, Belize City, and just generally very accessible. People are very friendly. All of the roads are like sanded, and there are no cars generally. Like, people don't drive cars, they drive golf carts, bicycles. One of the cons is that it's quite expensive. So compared to, say, Guatemala or Dominican Republic, Belize is more pricey. I think the flight routes now are much better than they used to be when I was there. So I don't think flights are an issue as much anymore. But definitely like imported foods, access to certain conveniences can be expensive. Medical care also can be expensive because, the private care is better. I can't say I used much of it. I did once when a dog bit me, and I went to a private clinic, and the care was excellent, I have to say. It wasn't crazy expensive, but it was, you can imagine that it would get expensive, and you have to pay up front before you're taken care of for the private side. Now, getting your visitor permit is very easy, which is great, but it can also be a con because like every month, every 30 days. You get the free 30 days, but then after that, every 30 days, you have to renew your visitor permit and go to the immigration office that's closest to you to file for a request. I mean, it's done like the same day. I never had any issues with it. I just generally said, oh, no, I just want to stay longer. You can say you want to explore longer. You're considering moving there and you just want to see. For me, I mean, I was a travel writer. I was doing a guidebook. So it was, my purpose was very clear. And they never really, half the time they didn't really care. So you just pay a fee, get a stamp for another 30 days, and then remember to renew. It's very important that you renew it. They take that very seriously. So do not overstay for 30 days without getting an extension. And you can get a list of like the different immigration offices. There's one on San Pedro, there's one in Dangriga, Belize City, like all the major cities and places have them. So I would just go really early in the morning and get it done. But yeah, so that's, pros because it's flexible, con because you have to be there every 30 days. The other downside was that public transportation is not very developed in Belize. They do have coaches for longer distances. Say if you were going from Belize City to Punta Gorda, which is the deep south of Belize, then there's like a coach bus, but otherwise, like from one town to another, they use those old US high school buses, which can be very uncomfortable depending on whether you're like really tall or like have back issues. Oh my God, I've taken my share of those buses, and I will tell you that I just would rather avoid it and pay for a taxi or maybe rent a car. I was fortunate that, for example, on the Placencia Peninsula, which you do need a car to go up and down and enjoy all of the different restaurants and venues. The village itself, it's easy to walk around on foot, the Placencia village, which is popular and I highly recommend visiting. But if you're going to other parts outside of the village, you would need a car. But yeah, so note that about public transportation if that's something that you would rather rely on. There are 2 domestic airlines within the country that will take you to places if you don't want to drive as well. They can be pricey depending on the timing and where, but you can also snag deals sometimes. One is called Tropic Air and the other one is called Maya Air. Now, as far as actually living on Caye Caulker, the pluses were being close to my friends, having a small island atmosphere. I love the community there. They really stick out for each other when things happen. Like if there's a major storm, they rally together afterwards. They're very good like that. They're very supportive of each other. At the same time, I think that living in Belize can also be a bit difficult because it's a small country. Everyone knows each other. And I'm not kidding. Literally, like all the families know each other. People are almost all related. Not all, but a lot of people are related and you might not know this. So keep that in mind. And so that means that there's a lot of gossip. It's a lot of chisme. And so, choose your friends carefully and keep your business private if you can. It's hard to do in Belize, I gotta tell you. Every small place is like that, right? Even the countryside here in the US. I mean, it all depends on where you live, but it's particularly, yeah. But I really, really enjoyed my time there. I love Belize. It's a very special place in my heart. I love Caye Caulker.
Where's the best place in Belize?
I had some great times over there. I will say that the downside was the rent prices in terms of the value of it, not the actual cost, but the value. So what I get for my money, the $600 rent on Caye Caulker was really paltry. I mean, first it was an apartment they gave me. They wanted to rent to me $650, and then I had no good Wi-Fi. And the landlord didn't even want to give me the Wi-Fi from their relative who lived downstairs. I mean, it was just like, and I was a writer. So imagine, I just can't. I could not be there without Wi-Fi and go to a cafe every day. So I ended up moving from there, and a friend of mine ended up giving me a room in her family's little hotel that they have there. Thank God. It wasn't ideal to live in a hotel, but at the same time, I knew I was safe. It was close to my friends, and I knew that at least I was getting 24/7 electricity, Wi-Fi, speedy Wi-Fi, getting my room cleaned regularly, every day, almost every other day. Had a fridge, but I had no cooking facilities. That was okay because there was, very local and affordable food on the island. But again, if I wanted to just cook for myself, it's not very healthy to eat out every day. So that was kind of the downside. I'm sure there are other apartment options, but I just didn't feel like the value was there, or you paid a lot more to get similar value elsewhere, in a DR, for example. So that's something to keep in mind. If that's no object to you, then definitely you can find a super fabulous place to stay on the waterfront or something. But it does get busy. It's a lot more popular than it used to be. So if you do want to rent and stay there for the winter to try it out, you want to do that well in advance. I can do a follow-up video where I talk about, the different regions and make that clear in terms of what they offer. There's inland, island, and coastal. I would say those are the main sort of options. Thanks so much for watching. If this was helpful, make sure you like, subscribe to get notified of the next video, and I'll see you on the next episode at Tourism Lens. Thank you so much for being here. Have a good one.